So, dude, I should be defending art, if anything. But I'm telling you, as an artist, my whole life, art is a coping mechanism. That's all.
Well, listen, too many minds. Without wanting to be rude, there's a hierarchy of art, and a lot of people who work in the creative industries don't have any claim to being an artist. So, without wanting to be rude, that what you're saying really belittles art, the best art, and to just say it's a coping mechanism. Maybe it is. Maybe your art is a coping mechanism. Maybe the things you produce are a coping mechanism, but the good art is much, much more.
I don't think I'm belittling it at all. I think you're misunderstanding me. I think that art creates highly intelligent coping mechanisms that I appreciate so much that I'm an artist. I believe that art creates the most useful coping mechanisms for the human species, which is why I'm an artist. It's why I do it. So I don't think I'm belittling it when I say that I think art is incredibly intelligent. I think it's the most intelligent thing that a human being could do. That's why I do it all. That's why it's all I can do. So, oops. Damn.
Yeah, well, not only that, it is a form of expression, isn't it? It's something that builds up inside you, and you have to release it.
Expression.
And you have to you have to communicate it somehow, or you'll go crazy. You have to put it down there and hope that somebody will, maybe not that you're hoping somebody will recognize it, but just to get it outside of yourself.
Yeah, I just didn't the transcending the physical plane value. I couldn't go there with him because
this is all very much mysticism and
oh, he's still here.
He'll cam up again. That happens quite often. People get kicked out. He'll log in again. But and adding a school of art, like you could say, oh, this is the Italian Renaissance era or something like that, just adds more weight to the idea that it transcends something else. It's more than just a podunk expression of some artist. It has movements around it. Cities are built around it. Cultures thrive on it. I mean, art can bring more with it than just expression. It can define whole countries.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, don't get me wrong.
Silly computer.
Well, I like my illusion.
Shut down.
And then once art...
Yeah, I just think we fundamentally disagree on whether it's an illusion or whether it's got some greater thing, or whether it's just I don't think we're going to get anywhere, because it's just you do think one thing, I think the other thing.
Yeah,
I don't know if we're going to actually be able to reason it. Yeah.
I have a question off the subject for you. Your bond.
That's actually called a ponytail tree. It's not quite a bonsai tree.
Cool. Not
yeah,
quite
it's called
a bonsai. Got it.
Yeah, it's called a ponytail tree. At least, I mean, there's probably a proper scientific name for it, but...
Oh, okay. I know what you're talking about. Cool.
You need some more interest in the back of your picture for people to look at.
I know, right? I should just turn it. Just a solid blank wall here.
Yeah, there needs to be a bit more detail. Think Lucas. So we could...
I should put up a picture or something. I should put up some art.
Let me know what you think of this, User Gone. I was just explaining to too many minds that art is not only an expression, but it sometimes can be much larger than that, in the sense that it bleeds into cultural nationalism or history, or it gains weight and becomes heavier due to the fact that it can define so much more of the human experience, other than an individual expressing his art individually.
Absolutely, yeah.
So that's why I think...
That's right on the mark, isn't it? I mean, yeah.
Yeah, well, so maybe that's why I think maybe for you it has so much more meaning, because it does bleed into these other areas, and so with it drags along with it so much more connotations of, of something outside of ourselves. And those things do exist outside of yourself.
That's true. But I also want to say that, I'm really a real kind of, how can I put it? I've not tried to put this into words before.
I understand. Try your best.
Yeah, I have a real sense of hierarchy when it comes to things that are worthwhile in art, and for me that hierarchy describes the reality of what I'm dealing with. I'm not trying to justify art as something that is a pressure relief valve, as a contributor to culturalness, to culture necessarily. But I feel that one can look at whatever medium of art there is, and make gradual increments to saying this is worthwhile. This piece of art makes it to the halls of the classics. This doesn't quite make it, and this definitely doesn't make it. And somewhere in that kind of search for meaning in the hierarchy is where I see why I think there's a value to it, because I think the good stuff is so good that it transcends all the things we're talking about. Pressure release valves, influence on society. It transcends both of those things. It's bigger than society. It's bigger than time, than movements, than culture. Just in and of itself, just as an actual thing.
Well, you could take Cubism, I don't know, from the 19th century, 20th century, whatever, and if you went back in time 300 years and a Cubist artist tried to present his work, he probably burned at the stake.
Okay.
I mean, I'm just saying that I think that a lot of it has to do with the time period you're in.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
And, I don't think, the eternal or timeless or something, it transcends all that, and it doesn't.
Because of the time period.
There's going to be a lot of periods. Yeah, the time period, the struggles, or the economic climate and things like that, they all definitely have an effect on whether art is even being created, let alone seen, let alone created, I guess.
I know in Nazi Germany, Hitler would just take all these beautiful Impressionist paintings, abstract expressionism, just beautiful, beautiful work, and he thought them degenerate, and he destroyed them all. And he only liked the realist paintings.
So you're saying that just because the people at the time couldn't appreciate it, then it doesn't have the eternal quality that I'm talking about. But presumably the artist himself, who did live at that time, could see that it did have that quality. So it did have that quality. It just was that the rest of the world hadn't caught up with it. So it does have the quality of the eternal. It has the quality because that person's there to experience it and realize that for himself. Even if all the other critics of the era haven't.
Eternal in the context of the human species aeon. Okay, we have an aeon. We're not going to be here forever. We're going to be blipped out eventually. So in context to the human species aeon, I have to agree with you. You're right. It has an eternal quality to the beginning of the human species to the end of the human species. But after that end,
why can't you put all of that art and knowledge inside a time capsule and send it into space? And then there's the potential that some other civilization might find it. So it may not end with us.
I love that.
It may not end. But you're saying that it will end with us, but it might not end with us.
No. I'm not making that claim. I'm not going that far. I don't know.
You did say.
No. I'm saying human species-wise. If there's something else out there, it's not going to be human species, and it may find no value in the art that we create. It may find the art that we've created quite pathetic and meaningless to the level of information that it's processing in its higher advancements or whatever. It could just look at what we're doing and be like, oh, okay, cool, catalog it.
That's possible.
Who knows? That's why I'm saying the significance is once again relative to the human species experience. Or
Well, we don't know that, and I personally I find that hard to imagine actually. But we don't know that. We don't know that for sure. So unfortunately, you can't reduce it down. You have to leave it open because you don't know what's going to happen.
I want to be proven wrong. Actually, I want to be proven wrong because then that means aliens showed up.
They'll eat us all.
Yeah, good. Well, I think we understand each other. I think we understand each other. You realise I'm not saying anything against antinatalism or anything about,
Are you
good
an artist
to discuss with.
I
wouldn't. Yeah, but I mean that's such a grandiose word. I wouldn't apply it to myself. I mean, I try and do what I can.
It's no different than calling yourself a craftsman. If I were to ask, are you a craftsman of painting, and you were an artist painter, would that be okay to say? I mean, it's just
I'm a musician.
Okay.
So if you say you're an artist, whereas if I was a painter, I probably would say I'm an artist. Don't know why.
Got it. That's humble.
And you know how important sound is to Corey Anton, sound, piano, drums, guitar.
Awesome.
But I'm not a pop musician. These things just happen to be. I'm more of a classical musician. So yeah.
Life is overrated. Huh? No trolls.
Was there a troll then? Wow, it's 3:45 here.
Yeah.
Oh, life is overrated. You're just a glorified wanker. Yes, who was that to? Was that to me? Yeah, I think it was to me. Yeah, because it says that we can get. Anyone who finds life good.
Finds life good all the time.
Yeah. Thank you, Too Many.
You're welcome. That's good, that's bad. But overall, I think it sucks, I'll be honest.
Yes, I've got mod powers.
Wow, do you? That's pretty cool.
Are they neat?
How many moderators are there on this channel?
I think there's about 8. I got lucky one weekend and I just got granted.
Wow. Wow, well done. We're not worthy.
No, but Laura is saying there are more people coming to the room perhaps. She's announced this on YouTube.
Yeah. Well, hang on now. You sent me a link to Flora's channel, and it came up with a man's name, but now you're saying it's a she.
Well, a man's name?
Yeah, the channel I got was Stephen something, or I can't find that. Let me tell you where I went. Stephen the Herto. When you posted me that link earlier, more. I got through to a channel called Stephen the Herto.
There's another one. That was her newest video announcing this room's open, so you can go there and then just follow the link.
Oh, okay. So how do I get to Flora's channel? I just click on the name and it takes me there.
Yep. I don't know what happened before, or why you got sent to another channel. It might be because of my Israeli spy connections. I don't know.
Ah, you're Israeli. Yeah, I remember. Yeah. There's something very weird going on there. Because I was interested in the other show with James Young Savant, who I wanted to maybe bump into on here or something.
Yeah, you could.
As well as Flora.
You could listen to an hour-long chat there
So,
talking about. We're talking about what we can do as antinatalists to kind of further the cause and get more people involved and things like that.
Oh, that's interesting. How do you think you're going to win people over? Like normal people?
Well, we thought about, kind of an all avenues, all directions approach. Just, none of us are professionals in any sense in marketing or things like that, but just keep practicing getting comfortable in front of the camera and also, all kinds of things. You can listen.
Yeah, I'll thank you. I've just found your link and I just put it up. So I will. I'll definitely listen to that. Yeah. And, oh, that's nice. Someone said beauty transcends time and space.
No, Flyora's beauty transcends time and space.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. Oh, that's very lovely as well.
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, she says. I don't know, Flyora.
Yeah, no, I didn't agree. Sometimes, maybe.
Yeah, welcome to the room. You're welcome here anytime. It's good to have quote unquote dissenting views or not dissenting, but different views. Because we get a lot of people who we basically agree with each other, and then which is fine. It's very useful too. But also we like to hear other opinions and other viewpoints. So.
Thanks, man. Well, it's a pleasure to be here, and it's really good to talk to everyone.
Yeah, it's very rare also to find a room that talks about philosophy in any sense.
Yeah.
I mean, as a joke, you might want to leave this room and go to one of the other rooms on the main page for a laugh.
I think I'll give it a try. This is literally the first thing I've done. I can imagine that this is a one-off.
Be prepared for some aggressiveness.
I mean, this is pretty much only Gary's subscribers must come here, and he hasn't got that many subscribers, so...
Gary has, he's got several thousand subscribers.
Has he? Oh, really? Oh, right, okay. Several, what, like, over 5?
Over 8,000, yeah.
Over 8,000, wow.
I wrote a script for my Israeli spy connections, and I just inflated the number a little bit.
Yeah, you... Give him a tingle. Yeah, well, I mean, I knew that I'd get a good debate, and I wanted to further some of what I felt was the discussion was happening between Corey and Gary, and I'm really keen for there to be a follow-up.
Well, I know you talked earlier about not feeling, this is the first time you've spoken about it, and yeah, you can come back again, because for me, I can't. Sometimes I've been thinking about these things for so long, and then when I try to speak them out, they come out, horribly. So I like to.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I froze a little bit.
Just
but
disappeared for a moment.
Come back later after you've thought about it, back again, sharpen your blades. So.
I will do. Oh, I will definitely be back. Well, thanks for having me, guys,
No, I-
and hopefully I'll come back on Saturday.
Saturday's a different
Please come
experience.
back.
Hopefully I'll come back on Saturday.
On Saturday there are more than 70 people
cheers,
here
yeah.
at times, and so yeah. But it's
Wow, that's so cool.
I mean,
But
during the week,
not everyone can talk. You can only have about 8 people talking.
I can have up to 10, maybe 12, I think.
So do you get a chance to talk on a Saturday normally, or is it quite hard to get a spot?
It's kind of hard. You have to have you should have a question. You should have a well, sometimes there's dead periods, so I shouldn't say that. But yeah, I mean, just try it out.
Oh, I'll definitely come with. I'll come with my gun loaded next time.
Yeah,
because I mean,
Awesome.
I really think there's so much great stuff in the antinatalist thing. I really love Gary's channel and a lot of what he says, but there's like this other side as well that I kind of feel that needs to be meshed into it for it to make sense to me. So there is going to be some attrition for me when I come here, which is good and interesting and I'm sure beneficial. To not be left with the same thoughts all the time.
Yeah, you might get booted. You might depending on his mood.
What? Does he really?
You remember that he just boots people randomly. People agree with him, people don't agree with him. It's kind of like Apocalypse Now and like what is it? Kurtz or whatever. What's his name? That can go up into the. I don't know. It's an experience, but usually he's very friendly.
Okay.
It's fun.
Cool. Yeah, no, I won't mind if I get booted. That'll be fine. I'll still be a fan. Nice to meet both of you guys and other guys earlier. I'll see you.
Yeah, it was nice talking to you. You're welcome back anytime.
Thanks. Good night.
That was nice.
I like a good conversation about art.
Yeah, that took me in the waters I have swam in several. I've never swam there. So. Swam.
Hedonist, you didn't like it when I called Alex Gray a cult, did you? I love Alex Gray, don't get me wrong, dude. Alex Gray rocks. So does Tool, of course.
I just know him from DMT, the Spirit Molecule, that book.
See if he knows the song.
What song is this?
It's a Tool song. He keeps putting Tool logos up on his thing, so he's a Tool fan. M-I-A-N. I hold very strong antenatal sympathies. How about that? Is that cool enough? Can I still hang out with you guys?
Alright, you're banned. Goodbye.
Cool. Yeah, it's pretty much what most of my poetry is about when you listen to it. It's about a lot of antenatal sentiments, transhumanism, human arrogance, things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't relate a lot to what you said earlier about the art because of these very abstract films that I make.
Yeah. I like that. I always thought it was like that guy in Star Wars. Who's that guy? Yeah, the side thing. What's it called?
Is that Star Trek or Star Wars?
I was thinking Star Wars. Yeah, that's right.
Star Wars felt more kind of like Disney, and Star Trek felt more kind of sci-fi. Of course, Star Wars is owned by Disney now, but whatever. Star Wars just felt more like fantasy generic. silly shit.
Oh, cute little dog. Where were you, Vincent?
I got off camera, and I played a video game for a little while and kept listening.
Hey, speaking of which, you posted a video the other day, or no, was it today or yesterday? And then it was gone. What happened? What was that all about?
I was kind of like, I wasn't really like fucked up, but I felt like kind of not lucid. I didn't want to go through the video and make sure I didn't say anything stupid or reveal anything too personal, so I took the video down. It was a gameplay video. I didn't want, to have too much of my, dirty laundry up if I said something stupid while I was fucked up on my channel.
Were you drunk or something?
No, I was just, there's something wrong with the way I was thinking, and I wasn't very lucid, I guess I could say. So I didn't want to go through, an hour-long video to, check and make sure everything said was okay. I felt paranoid that I might have said something stupid, so I took it down.
Did you watch my latest video? Yes, I saw that, Flora. I did, I saw that. I don't know what to think. I think that you should cam up. Well, okay, you're not gonna cam up. All right, so I think that no, I've got a sunburn, son of a bitch. I think that yeah, you make valid points. I just don't know if we kind of live in a universe, So you were lamenting that you would want others to be born, right? Because they're part of. Oh, there you are. They're a part of, your life. They made a good impact on you, so you wouldn't want them not to be born, right? You just would want yourself to not be born, right? Didn't hear you. Is your mic working? Oh, this is fun. Okay, so so I understood what you meant, and I don't know. I was just thinking of it deterministically because you can't go back in time and say oh this I wish this person would have died or this person would have not have been born or you know what I mean. You just can't do that. We're here. It's already. I mean, we just can't conveniently say I wish this person. I wouldn't wish this person not to be born because they have been born and they did influence you and all this did happen. So there's no kind of going back and say, well, if they weren't here, then I wouldn't have had this and wouldn't have had that. Well, that's a valid point, but it's not realistic. It wouldn't. You know what I mean? We're talking about Flower's latest video, Too Many Minds. She's trying to.
Okay, check it out.
She's basically trying to say that she wouldn't want other people who have influenced her. She wouldn't want them not to be born. She thinks that they're good in her life. They've influenced her, given her inspiration, like this. It's just that she wouldn't want to be born. Yeah, so she's kind of waffling a little bit on the AN position. Yeah, so she's 95% AN.
I don't think
5% on the fence.
I don't think you have to hold yourself accountable to what you feel in retrospect. It's just a ridiculous thing to do to yourself, all in retrospect. I really value this person and everything they've done for me, so I'd like to keep them. I mean, how can you hold yourself accountable to wishing? I mean, it's not, you didn't wish that person into existence to suffer for your entertainment. You're just appreciating what they've done with their existence as your friend, don't you think? I mean, it's not like you're causing them suffering or saying, stay here and suffer with me because I need you to suffer for me to like you. It's not like you're not doing anything like that, right? I'm with you though. That's something I think about all the time, especially because I have a daughter, you know. So, I mean, a daughter holds that one in my face. I can't wish she was never born. I would never even tell her I wish she was never born. But I can say that, you know, if she doesn't bring somebody else into the picture. I can always think of having.
I've been thinking a lot about it too. Like, or I mean.
Flower, are you, is there like a guilt or a shame that you feel in enjoying yourself here, enjoying people while you're here? Is there like a guilt or a shame in that you feel because you hold antenatal sympathies? Okay, that's cool.
I think she holds a lot of oh geez, how can I say it? For her, there's a lot of meaning in other people's lives have given her, and I think if when she thinks about what if they weren't born, it would be a tragedy in a sense because it wouldn't have made her who she is. You know, it wouldn't have given her the strength that she's gotten from them. So it's conflicting for her to think, well, if they weren't born, then I wouldn't be, you know, the person I am today. So maybe she thinks for other people that might be a similar source of strength for them. So that's what she wants to work it through in her mind, her brain. And then that kind of conflicts with my idea of, you know, determinism. It just is just blocks fall where they do, and you can't go back in time and remove people and do the experiment over again. So it's happened, and it will happen, and there's no other way it could have happened.
I feel you, Fior. Yeah, there's no way to sugarcoat that psychological pain of feeling that. Yeah, it's like a it's demented to me when I think of it that way. The way you put it like that, it's tough. That's a tough one to kind of. It's like, yeah, it's like two contentions in your mind that are in this constant flux. There is no way to, you know, marry those. It's like that I can think of. It's one of the psychological pains of being human. You know, that not wanting to pull it, not wanting other people to suffer, but at the same time really appreciating that other people are in existence, making your existence a little bit more bearable. Yeah, I'll tell you what, my life personally, for the past about three years, has literally survived because of the grace and generosity of other people. I cannot say that I would be here right now. I lost a lot of business out of kind of a depressive dropping out, but I hear you. I rely so much on other people. Sometimes I feel like a leech. Yeah, but that's what, yeah.
But didn't also, Flower, didn't you say in the video that maybe that's only a small percentage of people who you come in contact with or something like that, or that, yeah. So it's kind of like the argument: if there's like 1,000 people, one of them becomes, a doctor, great doctor. That means 999 of them failed. It's kind of like, should there be that amount of, sentience in order to produce the one that means something for you?
I like how you put that, social territory. I hear you. No problem.
Nonetheless, it's a good question because it's a good question to ponder. But Lyra, if those people didn't exist, would you know what you were missing? No? Well, maybe they would. If they didn't exist, you might be worse off, but you wouldn't have anything to compare it to. You wouldn't know.
No, yeah, Leori, that's an assumption. You can't assume that if those people didn't exist, you'd be worse off, because other people could easily take those people's place. Those generosity and grace given to us by other people it's not completely rare. I mean, you found it, so you can't assume that just because those people weren't there, that somebody else wouldn't have come in to fill in that gap, that need, that desire of yours to be assisted, so to speak.
Yeah, I like that point. Too many minds.
I mean, I think it's good to be thankful to individuals as they assist us in life and whatnot, but we should no way feel like indebted to them as if, they are the only ones, the only thing that could have provided for us in that moment of need. I enjoy moments of my life. Yeah, so Chris Pash. Oh my God.
No, don't get me started. Don't get me started on that.
I was done May 28th. I had picked March, April, May 28th. I was done like months ago. I was gonna fucking check out, and then I just had a big turnaround myself, to be honest with you. My depression is irregular. I'll meditate, but I'm not going to become Pollyanna. I meditate only as a coping mechanism.
And you've made a series on depression, haven't you?
Yeah, I'm going to actually reload. I need to reload that back up because a couple people asked me about it. Yeah, it was up, and then I went through a change where I was doing a bunch of my videos, like re-exporting them out of the video player, because the audio was all jacked up. So.
Well, I really hope that you can reload that. That was one of the most poignant,
I'll put those
description of depression I've ever listened to, and it was very moving. And I don't know if Lyra has seen that or not, but or if she's subscribed to you, but
I'll put those up.
It was fantastic. It was really good work.
Thanks. Or I've got to re-upload those particular videos, but I'll try. I'll get them up this week. Thank you for listening to my craziness. One of my vents. One of my coping mechanisms. Just live it, man. Just live it. Like,
I imagine you and Marco had good discussions about that. I wonder.
I will say, I'll just recap one of the conversations because there's just so many facets of what it's like being a parent. But I know one thing that I get asked a lot is, do I censor my philosophy from my daughter? And I remember answering that to Marco that I don't censor it. I'm pretty raw about not wanting her to get married, about not wanting her to have children, things like that. It's a very open conversation, and she's a 6-year-old child. And I have to have that conversation with her because she's being bombarded by media right now that's pretty much telling her everything else. So it's just about trying to be tactful with a 6-year-old. It's a hefty philosophy to put down on a young child. It's no nice way of putting it. But it's hard.
I think maybe there's a right age for that too, right?
I think it's I don't know, it's kind of a progression. You kind of introduce it to him slowly over time, you know. Yeah, all the fairy tales and dolls around. I was very happy the other day when my daughter came up to me and she was like, "Daddy, I'm done with princesses." And I'm like, "You don't like them anymore?" And she says, "Nope, I don't like them anymore." I said, "Awesome, high five." Shh, no more princesses. It was great. I actually started tending more towards antinatalism about 3 months after my daughter was born. I had my little epiphanic moment about that, realizing what I had done, looking into the face of innocence and realizing I had basically just thrown a small child into the fire. This like innocent being was like entering the fire and it wasn't here before, and I just had this my own little moment of seeing outside all my mindless ego to further myself and my wants and my desires and my bloodline into the future. I just saw right through that whole illusion in that second, and I was just like, what the fuck am I doing? And then I went through this whole process for years trying to assimilate this experience.
Do you feel physiological changes after having a child? Like, talk about the mother will change and develop a more meaningful connection with the child or something like that, or launch into, wanting to be a good mother, a good father.
Well, I mean, that's a child gives meaning to the parents. That becomes the meaning in and of itself, and all of a sudden the world makes sense. Okay, that's what a lot of parents will say. They'll say, "My child is my everything," or "My child is what gave me meaning." So.
Well, it's designed to be that way too, right? I mean, that's the.
It's precisely designed to be that way. Yeah, and what was wrong with me is I already had a pretty objective philosophy about the world, I shouldn't say objective. I already had a pretty pessimistic philosophy about the world, I guess is what I should say, when she was born. So I think what it did is it just kind of brought all that to the surface, and instead of her as a child giving me meaning, I realized that I just brought a being into a meaningless place. So it didn't do that to me in regards to changing me psychologically, and all of a sudden I saw the glory of being human in the eyes of my child. I mean, I saw the glory of being human, but I saw the horror right next to it at the same time. So when I looked at my...
You jumped a few steps ahead, right? You kind of pushed
my mind already whipped it through, saw every skin knee she was going to have, every heartbreak, every, back alley fright, and who knows what's going to happen to her. I'm responsible for it. Addiction, etc. Yeah. Who knows what she's going to get addicted to. That's right.
Yeah, I would have liked to be around, to have been around for that conversation between you and Marco.
Oh, we'll have plenty of them. We always bring up our kids because I'm always getting pointers from him on the way he talks about it. So. Yeah. pretty good. I like his approach.
Well, he's an excellent. He's got a very good insight into it.
I like to say he as we in the tattoo industry, he raw dogs it. He takes the gloves off, but he does it in an attackable way. So he's a good guy.
Not quite. How could you like teach a kid about antinatalism without like your own kid without sounding hypocritical? Like, couldn't that be an argument they would use? But you did it.
Well, this is
how can you
this is what I was talking to Marco about the other day, about how we have to actually change. You can't get to the antinatalist philosophy in a straight line, especially with a child. You kind of got to zigzag a little bit. And one of those places that I've always felt was probably the most important in the AN conversation was responsible procreation. And that's how I get through when I'm talking to my child about this, because she's just too young right now for me to get into the whole antinatalist conversation and get that brute with her. So I start with responsible procreation, hoping that eventually one day I can move into the antenatal conversation and start really, it's a progression. So that's what I'm trying to do as a father, to kind of clean up my mess. Hey Gary, how's it going?
Welcome to your own room.
Ethan. I just thought I'd stop you. I saw the notice, so I said, okay, I'll try this. I'll be a guest for a change. Be polite and whatnot.
Thanks for
coming. Mine's I don't see him too often. Live anyway.
I got attracted here about a week ago and chit-chatting with Amorph and Marco quite a bit, so.
Yeah, we have to buy Metamorph some internet. Yeah. It's kind of silly.
Is that what the problem is? Is that why we're not seeing him?
Yeah, it's just he doesn't have a good enough internet connection. Or, his computer can't handle his internet connection, whatever the problem is, but it's one of those two. So, yeah, it's just disappointing. Even video-wise. But, it works and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, the subject of kids is always that's sort of interesting. Just, it always scared me. I wouldn't say it's the primary reason I don't have kids. The primary reason I don't have kids, I never could figure out how to live my own life, let alone be responsible for somebody else. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's like even if I wasn't an antinatalist, I probably wouldn't have kids just because as a practical matter, I'm too much of a fuck up, I wouldn't, like I said, I've never been comfortable enough in my own life to be able to make that kind of choice. But, it did scare the hell out of me. Just even when I was a kid, just imagining having kids was like one of the major reasons I was like kind of, like even when you started being attracted to girls, you were like, maybe I don't want to do that, because I don't want to be, I don't want to get married, and I don't want to have kids, and to near that. The idea of just simple decisions, how much art do you impose on your kid? How much culture? How much character? How much, you know what I'm saying? It's just so hard to make those, because you would be a better person if somebody shoved it up your ass, so to speak. You know what I mean? Like, there's lots of things I wish my parents would have been a little more aggressive about. But they sort of let me down by letting me squander my youth in sometimes totally ridiculous ways, but who wants to be the bad guy? Who wants to, abuse your kid by, overtly manipulating them?
It's a tough call, and a lot of times that, I've gone from having a 100% honesty policy with my child to, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to manipulate this sometimes. It just happens. I hear you on that. It sucks to make that decision, and I wasn't as smart as you as soon enough, so I kind of.
Yeah, but like I said, I could have gotten myself into trouble. It's not like I was immune to having an accident or something. But I mean, like I said, it would have been. I mean, I just find it is kind of a daunting thing, and to have to make those choices between, like I said, where you have to say, okay, I have to give them the freedom to learn for themselves, but not enough freedom to fuck themselves up, And, and who wants? And then the other choices is like, the culture is going to try to raise your kid. The school is going to try to raise your kid. All these other influences are fucking with your kid's head. TV and video games and all this other crap. It's like, I just know I would have a terrible problem acquiescing to those influences. Because I know no matter how bad I could be, I can't be worse than those things.
I remember when I was.
I basically try and treat it. I try and get a little logical with it and treat it with basically paying attention to the chemistry that my child is emitting at that age, and I take advantage of the fact that she loves the shit out of me and that I'm her dad, and that gives me a slight advantage, just a slight advantage to what she's hearing. Like for instance at school, she really does listen just a tad more to me, and I just hope that I can plant those seeds so that she doesn't make the same messes that I made in a similar fashion. So, but you're right, that is one of the biggest freaking problems, is basically her mind being pummeled with pronatal media and basically go team human go, and it's constant, and so it's going to be a struggle till the end.
Yeah, freedom's a nice word. It's all nice to talk about giving your kid the rights and giving your kid freedom, but freedom is dangerous. It just is.
Yes.
Well, when I was in Asia teaching in specifically Korea, the kids were young as 8 years old were already parroting the news media to have more babies because the powers that be wanted to increase the population rate, the birth rate, and it was just sad to see these 8-9-year-old kids parroting what they saw on TV and what their mothers and fathers were saying. It was just horrible.
Since the beginning of time. Everything from carrying around a small fertility doll to talking about love and marriage in a Disney movie. It's been going on since the beginning.
Yeah, and it's just such an unrealistic way, just this lie that it doesn't matter whether you're poor, and it doesn't matter this, and it doesn't. Yeah, it does fucking matter. It does matter whether you're going to a school, that has 700 students or 7,000 students. It does fucking matter.
Yep. We were just discussing yesterday, Marco and I, about how all society is caste and lot society. It's always been caste and lot. You can call it whatever you want. You can call it a democrat, a communism, an oligarchy. You can put all those sub-labels on what's going on all you want, but in the end, all society has caste and lot, and you're going to be born into some specific circumstance that's going to have a heavy
it's
on what you're going to have access to.
It's not a meaningless, advantage or disadvantage. It's got huge implications. It's just, like I said, it's just that that's one of the things they just totally lie about. They just totally ignore that reality.
Yes, exactly. It just glaze over that that's not even a factor in the equation. You're like, excuse me, that's where the equation starts. Okay? Let's go back.
It's like, and even if you don't do it in some sort of correctly circumstance kind of way, I mean, if you were a slave and you had a kid on purpose, you're still an asshole. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's not a racial thing. It's not, people are always going to turn into some kind of bigotry. No, it's just a factual thing, that it requires an extensive toolkit to raise a human being. It's not raising a child. You're raising a human being, all right? You've got to have tools to do that, damn it.
Yeah.
Humans
a
are
huge percentage of
complicated.
people don't even have those tools.
Yeah, I mean, one of the tools is resources. So that's just one of the fundamental tools. But you know, if you're coming to the table just being an alcoholic and your wife's just a hoe, what the fuck is that? You know, you got no business.
Contributing a lot. And I don't care how much you say you love, your love is like that point. If you think you're going to raise a kid in those circumstances, it's crazy. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah, well, they just throw out some sort of like love conquers all bullshit. You know, not going to get you, unaddicted to heroin.
Yeah, and that's the same reason why everybody has a license to breed, isn't it? Because love conquers all.
Yeah, the silver lining shit. I just, you know, it's so irritating. And that's the irony of it too. Is just that this is just some sort of cultural norm thing. And it's like these atheists don't even get that that's the Christian cultural norm. You know, it's not a Buddhist cultural norm. It's not it's not an honest cultural norm. It's a Christian traditional cultural norm. And they just buying into that as if they don't know what egg it hatched from. All that shit hatched from the God egg. So if you're going to be a real atheist, you got to go all the way back to the egg embryo and say, what would this thing be if it was never polluted by Christianity? If it was never polluted by the idea of a God, maybe we'd realize we're just fucking maggots. Speaking of which, Vox Neruda just published a video you got to see. Oh man, he takes his shit. He takes his shit in a pile of maggots. You know, you just can't get better than that, right? Just this premium YouTube video, you know.
That's as good
playing my clips. He's playing my clips over a pile of maggots. Me talking about people being shit eaters. It's just quite funny.
Dude, that sounds like he's falling into some crazy Aleister Crowley dialogue. Hopefully he doesn't start eating the shit.
Well, I'm just, you know, you never know how far he'll go. You know, he does take this shit. He takes his shit seriously. I mean, he takes it seriously.
I will definitely keep that guy on my subject.
I remember the video where he actually split his hair. He ripped it from his beard.
Yeah, I don't know how the fuck he did that. I don't know if that was a parlor trick or something.
Wasn't he doing that over somebody else's video too? Two people were arguing about something
splitting hairs. So he's making a joke, but I mean, damn, that takes some talent.
Yeah, it was really something. He's quite a spectacle.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't do that when I was 20. Yeah, I wish he was in a little better health. I mean, he's just looking a little bit, you know, feeble.
Where's he at?
Texas, of all places. Texas.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Okay.
Holy shit. Yeah, that's where I'm moving back to. Yay, haw.
Yeah, we had a Corey Anton apologist in here about an hour ago. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, he was using the holy art defense.
Yeah, like somehow art is it's on a hierarchy and it's transcendental, and it transcends.
And so therefore it's human. Yeah.
Well, of course it transcends. I knew that had to come in here somewhere. The transcendence. Yes. the super house. You know, spaceship transcendence. That's what they needed. They needed the name of the shuttle's Transcendence. You know, it's the super. You want to get out of trouble? Just say the word transcendent. You know, and oh yeah, I transcended, so we don't have to have that conversation anymore. Because I'm transcending your conversation.
Well, he was from
England. That's what I was trying to tell him.
I invited him back in here on Saturday, and he's gonna. I said, sharpen your blades a bit. And come in on Saturday. Gary likes a good argument, so you might see him then.
Well, I mean that would be such a silly argument because we know that art appreciation is I mean mine gravitates towards porn, so what are you going to say? You know what I mean? It's just so subjective and so based on your emotional character.
Exactly. He couldn't accept that art was just a. He felt belittled when I called art a coping mechanism. So
yeah, he didn't like that.
The fantasy is all it is, right? I mean, in a way, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of like your poetry, right? I mean, it's reality bent.
Exactly.
It's okay. It's just porn bent. It's bending porn. It's bending adventure. Yep. It's bending voyeurism. It's bending exhibitionism in a way for the artist. It's a kind of exhibitionism. But it's all of these. It's just this crap emotion at its core. I'm not saying art doesn't have any value. I'm just saying, it's still the same human game, and it's still an ego game, and it's still hugely layered in vanity. I mean, how much art is just vanity?
When I try to bring up the point that there's so much of it that's dragged in with culture and nationalism, and he was trying to say that there's a hierarchy of art. It could be more. It's heavier. It has more meaning. It's just beyond expression, or as a mental masturbation. And I think we were trying to explain to him that it's you could have artistic schools that kind of get established and are around for hundreds of years, but they take on a historical context. They define cities. They define whole nations, and you've got all these other things attached to it. So we were talking about that too. I don't know if she might have recorded it, but
Flora, I think you're wrong. I mean, Van Gogh was really vain. I mean, if you really knew much about Van Gogh, I think I've heard or read all of his letters to his brother, so I know a lot about Van Gogh. And he was very vain in the sense that he had a real deep, hard passion to be useful, but he also wanted to be respected. He had a real inferiority complex. His father was a really famous preacher. He sort of had disappeared as a person, and he had a real need to be successful. I mean, that's a kind of vanity. Maybe it's not the kind you want, that you're using, but it's the kind of vanity.
Well, also, Too Many Minds, I don't know if you could repeat what you said about art as illusion. You just made a fantastic destruction of what art serves, of what its purpose is. I thought that was beautiful.
Yeah, well,
I've always felt that. Yeah, what I was trying to do. Yeah. I mean, you summed it up right there. I just feel art's an illusion. It's coping mechanisms, it's manipulations that we do to try and move objects and elements around us into more pleasing arrangements. It's really that's all it is. And then those pleasingness or those aesthetic, like Gary says, it's relative.
Yeah, and it's always, you got to look at it from the artist's point of view versus the person looking at art. You know what I mean? So some art is just hero art, like the David or something. It's a wonderful sculpture, but people look at it just because it's the David, right? I mean, it's only because it's famous, or the Mona Lisa, or you can go through all the list of the most famous painting. It's not really so much that the painting is itself that great. It's just that it has the status of, it's the Madonna of painting, so you're going to see more in it than is in it because, well, it's worth $25 million. That kind of bullshit. But I mean, yeah, the artists are like, they're suffering for their art, so to speak, in the sense that, they have to acquire these skills. They gotta, you gotta get them to a high level. And then you have to do this performance. You have to do this orchestration that's somehow going to move people. And so, a lot of art was political, a lot of it was religious, a lot of it has an intent that they're being paid to do, so they're just basically prostituting their talent, for a purpose. And then the audience is just feeding on the statement, or again, the aesthetics. How much of it is just this? How much of my favorite paintings, if I'm going to say it, it's all about the aesthetics. It's just about my visceral love of the color purple, or the V-shaped vagina thingy, or some other phallic symbol, quote unquote, that has caught my attention. You know what I'm saying? Those elements are always part of what I appreciate in art.
And for me, one of the things I appreciate about art is when something shows me that, or when something gives me the illusion that it can be something that it can't be. You know, that it's doing something that it really shouldn't be doing. You know, it's those illusions that, you know, kind of set
my
up
favorite Van Gogh, right? My favorite Van Gogh painting is a Van Gogh that nobody knows is a Van Gogh. And so it's a skeleton, you know, a head of a skull smoking a cigarette, right? So it's a really... Yeah.
What's the name of the piece?
Cancer? I don't know. Cancer stick? I don't know. I don't even know what it's called. But it's, you know, it's a skull.
Oh, I found it.
Yeah, a skull smoking a cigarette. And it's my favorite Van Gogh painting because it's actually structurally good. Like, Van Gogh painted so fast that a lot of his paintings have huge flaws in them. You know what I mean? It's like you almost see the first painting underneath the painting kind of thing. You know, it's like all these little things that are just irritating to my eye just because I see them. You know, I see the flaw and I say, shit, that's a flaw. And this painting to me was the best one he did in the sense that it doesn't really look like a Van Gogh because it's sort of neat. You know, it's a little bit neat. I mean, it has that abstract, but I mean, it's neat. But the image itself was it's just like the perfect color. You know, the color's just right. The cigarette's just, I mean, it's just done so well. And that one says something to me, where the rest of the Van Goghs, yeah, they say something, but they don't say anything much.
Nice. Yeah, I've never connected with Van Gogh before myself, so you're right. This piece holds a different tone for him.
Yeah, it's just not, you know, it's very un-Van Gogh, which is just kind of funny, right? It's my favorite Van Gogh, and it's very un-Van Gogh.
Yeah, even the lighting in it is so dramatic for his style. That's interesting.
Yeah, and it just doesn't have any of the fantasy elements. I mean, even though it's a fantasy element of a skull, you know what I mean? It doesn't have the big abstractions that are in every other painting of his. You know, the glows, the extra glows, the swirls, the patterns in the wheat that are never really there, but the ones he put there just to give the illusion of movement. You know, it just doesn't have any of those. It doesn't have any of those Van Gogh elements of energy and movement. You know, it just has it in the color itself. You know, in the lighting. You know, he did it all with lighting.
Kind of like the end of fantasy.
Yeah. Anyway, enough about that, but that's just my subjective taste, of course, you know, so that's all I'm trying to say, is that, you know, all this art stuff is just another one of our subjective tastes, and if somebody's going to say, you know, art means something, well, it's just saying horny means something. Well, yeah, it means something, but, you know, it doesn't, we know its origins, we know why it's a passion, but that doesn't make it it doesn't make it transcendent.
I think they like to think that they have access to a different realm. You know, they like to have one foot in reality and one foot somewhere else in a mystical land, and then they bring that and show people, and that's what fascinates viewers.
Yeah, I mean, well, you know, the word wank has just become a word I've liked over the last year, right? Because it's like everything is just a psychological wank. You know, you're just wanking one way or another psychologically. Like, what, you know, just to get these moments of peace. You know, find some peace, find some peace, find some peace.
Yep, get your next mental orgasm.
Yeah, it's, you know, I mean, it's just, we're just psychology, you know, we're just this, you know, even though I know I have this ego, and you still can't do much about it, right? You just still say, there it is, it shows up every day for lunch, and you're just like, well, I've already discounted you, you're not supposed to show up anymore. You know, I'm not supposed to want something I'm not supposed to be insecure, and I'm not supposed to need to succeed, and I'm not supposed to need, I don't need you, ego, I already totally transcended you. What are you doing still on my spaceship, you fucker?
Get the fuck out of here already.
Yeah, well, it's just like you can't get rid of it, right? It's just like that nagging little friend that never goes away, you know? It's just, oh, I'm your best buddy, and it just won't leave you alone.
Yep. It's kind of funny you bring that up because we had just had some guy in here about a couple hours ago who was going off about how he knew someone who didn't have an ego. And I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. And he's like, yeah, he's a Buddhist. And I'm like, oh, come on, I'm not even going to play this game with you. I was like, do you even know the definition of ego? It simply means disambiguation of self, you fucking idiot. Everybody has one. You cannot escape it. Sorry, Buddhism.
Yeah, well, I hate to get so cynical about Buddhists, but yeah, I mean, they really piss me off. You know, just they're such frauds. You know, the Dalai Lama, you can just see him feeding on his fame. You can see him doing it, you know. I mean, he plays to the audience. He plays, you know, he loves to be called Your Holiness, even though he says, oh, don't call me Your Holiness, but he just loves that shit. You know, he'd love it even more if he had, like, people bring him on stage, you know, on one of those platformy things, carrying him in on his silk pillows. I mean, you know, the guy's ego all over the fucking place.
He is. He's total ego. I mean, fuck, dude. The Dalai Lama has a palace for every season. What the fuck, dude? There's nothing holy about that.
Well, I'm just saying that it's all just this, you know, this idiotic, you know, conversation about this guy being some sort of pure thinker. It's just such a crock of shit, you know, and everybody goes silent for every word he's going to say, and you're just like, what the fuck, man? He's just another twatty human being.
No, he was chosen.
It's just another cult. Mm-hmm. Yeah. He's returned.
Yeah, he's a special one.
Buddhism is just fucked, dude. It's a matter of time before they get pushed out of the closet, just like Catholicism. And as soon as, I mean, we've already got cases where monks and female monks are coming forward and talking about all the sexual abuse in Buddhism. And man, that religion's been around for thousands of years, so we know that there's a lot of dirty mess under those fucking carpets.
Well, that's another part
out, and
right, that's another part of it. It's just so chauvinistic too. You know, it's got all these old traditional lies built into it. And you're saying, gee, this sure didn't evolve anywhere, did it? You know, this isn't much of an evolved philosophy. You know, in so many respects. You know, and yeah, I'm just you know, but yeah, you just the common Buddhist is a cruel motherfucker, and the priesthood is a bunch of, you know, performance artists. You know, and you have to give them credit. You know, when they do the setting themselves on fire, that's a pretty good show, I have to say. You know, you got to give them some credit. That's one hell of a performance. But it's just a performance. I mean, don't tell me you ain't feeling it, because you're feeling it, fucker.
Well, I think it shows you how insidious Buddhism really is. I mean, they're the ones lighting themselves on fire more than any other religion. I mean, it just goes to show that psychology. That psychology is deep. It is insidious, and it's fucking dark. It has dark roots.
Well,
I mean,
religion,
in the end, Buddhists are just passive misanthropists.
Right, and this whole canard that it's not really a religion, well, that's where it turns into religion, right? I mean, and the whole philosophy is like 98% decent in the sense that it's basically saying, yeah, life is shit. And then it gets to the end and it says, you know how you avoid the shit personally? Burn yourself, okay? Die in a fire, and then you won't have to come back. And number one, it's so fucking selfish, right? It's just so fucking selfish, right? What do you mean? I get out and everybody else is stuck in hell? Well, that's not much of an accomplishment for somebody who's supposed to be enlightened, right? I jump ship and you're all fucked. But even just the idea of it, right? I mean, what's the logic in this? Like, oh, the whole religion says basically life sucks, and the way to get out is to burn yourself in a fire. I mean, what kind of? I mean, that's dumber than Christianity, right? Where you get baptized and that's your ticket to heaven. Well, you know, this idea of jumping in a fire as your ticket for not being a groundhog next time doesn't seem like much of a lifeboat.
Uh-huh. They topped it with that one. Either that one or their other alternative. If you're not going to set yourself on fire, give away all your possessions and then come live in our monastery.
Yeah, well, that was an add-on. Obviously, that was one of the add-ons. I guess I'm going by the original Buddhism. You know.
Couldn't burn it.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I actually am going to take off. Gary, it was cool to get to talk to you this evening.
It
so
was.
I'll see you later for sure.
Quite excellent.
Cool. See you guys.
Later, man. It's nice talking to you.
You too, Vince. We'll see you. Bye, more.
Yeah, bye too many times. Yeah, one time I saw a Buddhist in Asia in a supermarket. He was buying a packet of meat, cigarettes, and some alcohol. It was it was really weird.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying that the countries that are Buddhist have some of the, you know, I mean, you know, they make ashtrays out of, you know, orangutans and shit. I mean, they're crazy fuckers.
Well, they've got all kinds of religions and sects and things like that, and it's splintered.
I'm just
in a lot
saying
of
they're so
different ways.
mercenary, you know. Well, what they'll do for $1 clears as bad as any capitalist on earth.
Oh yeah, that's certainly. They can't survive without donations. Well, if we knew it was this easy to get you in the room, we would have invited you earlier, maybe.
Yeah, well, you know, it's not my, you know, I mean, like I said, I gotta only can Saturday night is kind of enough, you know what I mean? But yeah, I like the idea of maybe stopping in now and then during the week, so that was good. I mean, and I've made a little tool for, you know, making it possible to notify when there's people in the room, and so we'll see how that works. So
Yeah,
I'll try to get a little more involved during the week.
Should I leave a message if I want to be a part of that, or because I saw your video today about that, and you.
Yeah, well, it's better if you leave a message, but now you're already talking to me, so you could leave a message that way, or Skype me, or however you want to do it.
I don't know.
I'm not going to PM.
I don't know if you know my channel, but yeah, I would love that.
Yeah, I have your channel, so I'm subscribed to you.
Yeah, but sometimes I know Saturday is kind of overwhelming. Sometimes there's some, and I remember last Saturday there were 75 people in here.
Yeah, well, that's not too many, but yeah, this is more than 35.
Have you seen more? Have you seen more than that?
Well, you know, we hit 90 a few times and stuff like that, but in Stickam we go, you know, a couple hundred now and then. But I mean, I still, you know, by my expectations, I gotta communicate with more people. So, you know, I'm still looking at it as a failure.
Well, the fact that this has become a thing, you know, it's almost every night now people come in here. I've already been in here a couple nights with Old Fan, and then James Young Savant was in here. Flyor recorded it for an hour, and we've had some real productive discussions about things.
Yeah, no, I think that's good. Like I said, I want to encourage that. So, all good there.
I mean,
yeah, and if Flyor records it, that would be good. You know, if somebody records them now and then, posts them, that would be good.
I think she's also recording right now, but I don't know if she's here.
Yeah, I don't know. She was, but somebody's instant messaging me or something.
Flower, would you mind if I, did you see Flower's video today in Mendon?
Which one?
Well, Flower, is it okay? Yeah, she said go ahead. She's struggling with, I'll try to paraphrase what she said. Basically, in her life, she sees the people that have given her strength and the people who have, you know, helped her through hard times and inspired her, made her a stronger person. She's lamenting the fact that if they were not born, she wouldn't have been the person that she was. And so that's a point of, we were talking about a little bit earlier, how do you get around that? Because
well, it's always a percentage.
I have my own idea. And
I mean, you could argue that there's only 7 billion people on Earth, so we're minus the 3 billion extra that we could have. And if those 3 billion people lived, we would be much better people because we'd have much better friends. You know what I mean? We could argue I'm missing 1/3 of my friends, right? Like 1/3 of my friends are missing because we don't allow the extra population, you know? So, I mean, it's kind of a silly argument, right? But you just say if there was only 1 million people on Earth, you'd still have the same number of friends. You know, a human being just tends to make, you know, to know a certain number of people, and that's all they can know. You know what I mean? You can't keep people straight once it goes over a certain number. So there's only a certain number of people who are going to get in your circle anyway. And so if it wasn't them, it'd be somebody else, and you're usually going to gravitate or be connected to people who are going to make a difference. So,
Yeah,
I mean, you know.
Too Many Minds brought that point up that you just made, and I've been thinking about that video for a few hours, but I was thinking about it deterministically, like if that person weren't born, I mean, you wouldn't know what you were missing in a sense. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you can't even tell, you know what I mean, to tell you the truth. You don't even know for sure, because you can't run your life over. Even though you have the impression that somebody did you good, they might have fucked you up. So you don't know how much they gave you and how much they took away. You know, realistically, you don't really know because you can't run the experiment.
Yeah, I think I made that point. I don't know if she caught it or not, but I was saying
I mean, some of my worst enemies might have built more character in me than my best friends. I mean, as stupid as that sounds, they may have been more essential to my antisocial maturation, you know, than any other component. And if I didn't have that antisocialness, I might not have been liberated from the propaganda, you know, and I might be a right-wing Republican right now. So if it wasn't for them, you know, I might have been a total fucking douchebag, you know, who drank the Kool-Aid and became a Borgite.
Yeah, that's a good point. She said, "What if the Mendham hadn't been born?"
Yeah, well then, derived energy probably wouldn't have gone to jail, right? Because his channel, you know, wouldn't have gotten the same, you know, because I tended to give his channel some support, right, just by bleeding into his channel a little bit. Maybe he would have stayed in Saudi Arabia. Who knows what could have happened, right? I mean, everything happens, you know, with this chain of events. So, yeah, but so maybe derived energy, you'd write a book by now. Maybe, you know, who knows?
Yeah, and I think that's a good point. You can't run the experiment twice. It only happens once, and that's something to keep in mind. I mean, those people are there. They helped you out.
Yeah, I mean, it's always, you know, it's like I said, you can make that argument about the invisible people that could have been, and so what? You basically just say, well, tough luck. You know what I mean? I mean, there's fossils that get destroyed every day when a volcano erupts or something. And you just say, oh, well, that would have been really nice to find those fossils, but they got destroyed. So, well, too bad. You'll have to do with the ones you got, you know. So that's just the way it is. But, I mean, to me, it doesn't change the cause any. It's not something to lament in a sense that it's always going to be transitioning to non-existence. You can't get it. You're not going to be free. You know, you're going to pay something for it. I think there's some benefit to it. I mean, I really personally wouldn't mind having 5 houses and 17 cars. You know, as population shrinks, I get to have like 40 acres and I get to have 4 houses. And yeah, life gets pretty good, right? As the number of people reduces. And I can go to the beach without a bunch of jackasses, you know, playing music and doing all that shit. I could have some quiet time. So, I mean, there's lots of advantages, but yeah, like you say, there's disadvantages too, in that there's a lot less people, so there's less people to take care of you and all this kind of bullshit. So, but yeah, but if I had to, you know, if I'm going to buy the thing, I'm saying, yeah, I'm better off with the lower population than the higher one.
Hopefully I did your position justice, Clara. I don't know. She doesn't like to cam up very often.
Yeah, well, she often says things that do irritate the fuck out of me. But she is sending me cigarettes, so I really can't complain too much. For a week or two, anyway.
Are you sending him cigarettes? That was good.
Yeah, you gotta fuel the momentum.
Well, how can we get your address? I'll send some as well. I mean, I'm a man of my word.
Yeah, well, just put in Mendham's address into Google, and you'll probably get it. But yeah, it's
Well,
all over the place.
if you do send me a PM later or a link with,
I'll send you the PM. Yeah, I'll send you the address. Better write this down just so I remember. Better have to find a pen.
okay, anything I can do.
Yeah, that shouldn't be a problem if you pack it well enough flour. Like if you pack it in a certain way, they're not even gonna check it. It's not your personal like cigarette whatever thing to someone.
Yeah, well, they're getting Nazi. I mean, I know a guy who lives in Norway, and he sent to Mexico for those pills to kill yourself with, and they stopped those at the border, and then they arrested him, and he got like a $900 fine. They searched his house, and all kinds of shit.
You can send cigarette states within the states. It's okay, isn't it? You don't get in trouble with the taxes or anything.
Well, it's technically illegal, yeah, no, but you didn't pay taxes in the state you're sending them to.
I've had people send me like little bottles of a certain spirit and it hasn't been. I'm pretty sure that's illegal, but that's just within the states. I don't know how between country borders how well that's monitored. It's probably much more monitored.
Yeah, well, I got nailed for buying cigarettes out of state. And, I went and I sued New Jersey and went through all that whole hassle and didn't get anywhere. But I proved that the courts are full of shit, and so I did that much. But, yeah, the messy business, this whole cigarette shit.
So if you're labeling the package, like Flowers said, she labeled it and declared the cigarettes, is that a no-no?
Yeah, well, you probably shouldn't have said they were cigarettes. Yeah, that's probably a mistake. You probably should have called them incense or, I don't know, happy plants.
I don't know, that happy plants might have.
Well, happy plants might get you in trouble too. We just call them something like, I don't know what, broomsticks or something. I don't know, something. Sponges, yeah.
Wood chips.
Yes, anything but cigarettes or pot. But we'll see what happens.
Oh, Flores is in trouble. And she's of Iranian descent, is that right? You're in big trouble now.
Yeah, terrorism. We'll see. If they get out of Australia, I don't think they'll have a problem because no one's going to read them here. But the funny thing is, you probably should send them to China. And then, because everything from China can get here for almost nothing. I mean, if you want to get some airmail, just buy something from China. Hilarious. I mean, I've been buying shit on eBay, and I bought an item that was actually 80 cents. So it cost 80 fucking cents. And it got to my house in a little plastic, package with my address on it for 80 cents. That was the total cost. So I bought the item and the shipping for 80 cents. I mean, I can't send a postcard for 40 cents. And they sent something all the way from China in an airplane for 80 cents.
The nice thing about, when I was in China, as you know, I lived over there for a while. You could buy cigarettes for, they don't have the taxation over there. So it was a lot of fun.
You could buy what?
You could buy cigarettes for a dime over there. 50 cents.
Oh, yeah. Ooh, yeah. Yeah, well, I've talked about moving to China. That's more expensive. Yeah, it's more. Yeah, 10-cent cigarettes. I'm out of here.
Yeah, so that was a lot of fun. Inexpensive cancer. Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, well, who wants to live forever? Oh, fuck that shit.
Yeah, no kidding. I'm done. I'm already tired. I'm in my 30s.
Yeah, I'm way done. So, I'm well over, like the little, you have to scrape me like a piece of toast or something. I'm like way overcooked. So.
Hey, when you think about it evolutionarily, we're not supposed to live longer than what, I don't know, 50 or something. And then we're just
Yeah, well, 45 is what they say. If you lived a natural life, your teeth would wear out by the time you're 45. They say so.
Yeah, it's how most people died prehistorically, through their teeth. They get bacteria built up, and then it gets plaque into your arteries, and then it causes heart disease.
I don't know if I heard that theory, but it certainly doesn't make eating raw food very easy without teeth. You're not going to digest it too well anyway.
Well, once I heard an argument from you about, people say we're living longer lives, and then you made a really good point about, we're living longer, but we're living longer in misery, We're prolonging our lives in nursing homes and things like that. So I use that often when I'm talking to people about it.
Yeah, well, it surprised me that one just popped into my head. I didn't read it somewhere or anything. That one just kind of occurred to me that when you think about it, the amount of conscious time we're spending, the amount of average, like what's a consciousness doing every day? What a consciousness was doing 500 years ago every day was being like 25 years old, pretty good health. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's what the average consciousness was every day, because if you got sick, you died. So the average consciousness was experiencing a pretty vital life. Where what's the average consciousness doing now? The average is probably somewhere in, the assisted living home. There's so many people disabled, ADD, drunk. There's, the 10 million liabilities you have, plus all these sicknesses and people on medications and all this shit. And you're saying, quite obviously, even though it was horrible to die of the plague, that's the only thing, you got, whatever you got sick of, whatever made you sick, you killed you. So you didn't have to get sick 7 million times before you died. It's like we get like a fatal illness every 3 months, and we just never die of it. Oh, the internet pooped out.
Yeah, that's a great point. Been on the fucking life support when it's fucking horrific.
Yeah, just consider how much of the population is aging, the percentage of old people, and, the average person is, getting older and older and older. It's like, well, that ain't no fun.
Well, back then you died quickly, too, you didn't have these prolonged...
Yeah, 2 weeks, 2 weeks and you were done, that was a long illness, Well, that's an exaggeration, I don't want to be too... some people did die rather miserably, but, generally speaking, the plague would take you out pretty quick.
And another thing people neglect, and I haven't heard too much about, I like to bring this up, is the more people you have, what are we doing? We're staying alive, we're consuming resources, right? So if everybody lives longer, stays alive longer, that just spells doom for crowding us more into this planet.
Yeah, well, if we consume the resources in some sort of efficient manner, I guess it wouldn't matter, but yeah, we're just expanding deserts and that kind of stuff. The Hubble Blubber guy made a response video to me. I should make a response back to him, but his sort of argument was sort of annoying. It's like this flexible biosphere kind of argument. Like the fewer humans there are, the more orangutans there are, some kind of bullshit like that. And it's like the biosphere really isn't that flexible. Like human beings really have degraded the environment in substantial ways. Like even just acid rain, it kills the pine trees, it kills everything that lives on the pine trees, it kills, it kills whole ecosystems, and basically not sterilizes them, but substantially reduces the life the trees can support because their photosynthesis is no longer effective. You know, and the same thing you could argue with like a rainforest. You know, it's so dense, it grabs almost every bit of light that hits it. You know, the light hits something, you know, where if you covered that with grass, you might not have the same efficiency in terms of grabbing every photon and turning it into something that could be turned into another animal's energy, you know, that kind of thing. And so it's like the carbon cycle isn't as rich, depending on what there is. And certainly a desert, there's no carbon cycle. So, and we've expanded every desert on Earth. So obviously our impact, you know, wouldn't necessarily be constructive if we're expanding deserts. So I'm saying as long as we reduce human population and expand deserts at the same time, well then we don't have to worry about it. But anyway, you know, it's just that, you know, you hate that people make these desperately convoluted arguments for why it's a good thing to have humans. And you're just like, no.
Another thing I said, I saw in a comment section, a Hubber Bubber guy was saying how, you know, the people who argue against, who are they? The anti-ethalists, the anti-antinatalists. They always try to highlight the positive things of evolution or something like that. And I don't know if you saw this comment, but Hubber Bubber was saying something about if you're going to argue against antinatalism or ethalism, you should go through the route of arguing ecosystems, how ecosystems thrive off of each other and can live harmoniously, and that would be a better angle of attack. Did you see that?
No, I didn't see that, but that sounds like along the same line. Like I said, he's like finding, like his argument was almost, if I don't have kids, somebody else will. You know, and it was like, well, that's a stupid argument. I mean, we could obviously reduce human existence, and then so he was extending it to the biosphere. So, you know, I mean, it just seems like a lame argument. There's not going to be the same amount of life on Earth. I mean, you know, for most of the planet's history, there was no life on land. You know, it was all in the ocean. So there's nothing preventing us from re-sanitizing the Earth. You know, there's not, obviously when the meteor hit, it reduced the biomass, you know, on Earth, you know, 300 million years ago, down to like 1/10 of what it was, or 1/5 of what it was. So it's just silly to say that, you know, there's some automatic amount of life that's always going to exist. It's just such a stupid reason to say it's a stupid reason to tell somebody to reproduce. Well, if you don't do it, somebody else will. I mean, that's just a dumb reason on so many levels.
I think another thing he was saying was, you know, about the gladiator war thing. And he said if you look at ecosystems, there's like a balance between them. It's not about one organism trying to dominate the others. It's about living in a symbiosis with them. And if they were going to argue against ethalism, that would be a better approach.
Well, that's even sillier, you know, just because obviously any symbiosis is just a long-term parasitic relationship. So, you know, I mean, you can call it symbiosis, but it's still parasitism at its root. And if either party isn't fed, the other party's out of luck. And, you know, but it's just silly to call it like, I mean, it's just like saying, well, they stayed married for 60 years, you know, even though they hated each other. Well, yeah, what's the point? Okay, yeah, they stayed married, but let's not say that that's how you want life to exist. I mean, dependence on a parasitic relationship isn't exactly something you put in the good category.
There you go. You refuted it. Good job. Yeah, James Young Savant was pretty inspired by the conversation we had a few nights ago with Old Fan and him and me. We were talking about he's kind of nervous speaking in this forum in the tinychat, but you know we really got his gears going. And he made an hour.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I saw his video. It was a good video. Yeah, I guess he just has to get more comfortable. You know, I didn't realize he was uncomfortable. He doesn't seem uncomfortable, but you know, I guess it's just, you know,
it's just having a venue. Just having a venue mean, you're kind of a natural at it, and we were speculating. You know, at 22, I think, which is his age, were you like him? I mean, does something like this develop over time? Do you get better at it? You get better at arguing, making the arguments. You know what I mean?
Well, you just get better at doing YouTube. Yeah, I mean, if you look at my old videos, I was looking pretty nervous. I mean, I was looking a little like a deer in the headlights kind of thing. I mean, I wasn't exactly comfortable, so I mean, it does take you a while. But I was always good at arguing. I mean, I've been arguing since I was, since I landed on the planet. I've been arguing.
So I tried to make that point to him. In Mendham was once 21 too. I'm sure that he had to work over some things. So I think it just takes time. I mean, for all of us. Yeah,
and it takes time to acquire your knowledge base and all the rest of that shit too. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you do acquire. Not that I didn't learn a lot of shit before I was 21, but I mean, obviously, the longer you live, the more shit you learn. And so the more weight you can give your arguments because you have, you have a reservoir of information in your brain to pull from.
Yeah, that's a good point. You have more life experience. And well, me and Marco are around the same age, and we keep calling Vincent and Vincent on the left there, and James, we call them kids. Even though we weren't too far away from them in age, we still consider them young pups.
Yeah, what old, I don't know what to say about that, but yeah, the age thing is weird. Because you do gain. There's a big difference between being 20 and being 30, in terms of your, how solid things get inside your brain, in terms of certain ideas, and so it does seem like with every decade, you just, just because you have tested it so many times, you played with things in your head so many times, you just know, where your weaknesses are and where your strengths are, and you've kind of played with your weaknesses enough to be able to figure out whether, is it weak for a reason, or is it weak just because it has to be weak? Is it weak because I'm a bigot? Is it weak because I'm an asshole? I'm being an asshole, or is it weak because, it's just one of those things where you can't compile a lot of evidence. It's an argument from, it's a little more obscure.
They kind of stop maturing at a certain age.
Yeah, well, obviously, I think a lot of people don't ever even test their own credibility themselves enough to say, okay, I'm going to test me, They never hear that voice in their head that says, you're full of shit, and they don't do anything about it. Or they hear it and they just ignore it, where when I hear that voice saying, you're full of shit, I pay attention. I say, yeah, maybe I am. I got to work on that one,
Yeah, we were talking about that a little bit in the chat, too. Like, he mentioned in his video, too, we live in a culture where we don't want to piss people off. We want to respect people's opinions and be cordial and make sure everybody has their own, point of view, and we should respect that. And I try to make the point, I kind of learned that from watching you, is that, no, you don't have to respect people's opinions. You can, if they're, like, a good example is arguing vegetarianism. You don't have to respect that. I hear that a lot from people. I eat meat, you'll eat vegetables, you just respect me. And I'll say, no, I don't have to do that. Whereas before I might have said, okay, maybe you're right.
Yeah, I think it's sort of the importance of making the argument. You got to make sure there's some point to why you're arguing. You're not arguing because it's incidental.
Of course.
I mean, a lot of these subjects are life and death. That's why you're arguing. So don't tell me it doesn't matter that we disagree. I mean, that's just kind of stupid because all this stuff is basically a murder trial, and you're telling me it doesn't matter whether we convict this guy or not? Well, no, it does matter. Fuck you. I mean, you're saying you're going to acquit this guy. I think the guy is guilty as fuck. You're telling me you're going to let him back on the street. That's not a minor problem. That's a problem, fucker. You want me to respect you after we get out of here? You just let the fucking rapist loose and I'm supposed to respect you? Well, I don't think so, fuckface.
I think a lot of people are uncomfortable making people upset. You know, they don't want to piss people off, you know, because that's uncomfortable to be around agitated or irritated apes, if you know what I mean. So we've kind of grown accustomed to not digging too deeply.
Well, I think that a lot of people have just gotten into these bad habits of tradition, and those traditions were built out of the fact that everybody was living in a glass house. You know, everybody was so weak and couldn't survive scrutiny that they didn't apply scrutiny. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they were rapists, you know, pointing their finger at child molesters. You know what I mean? So they couldn't point too hard because they were guilty as fuck too.
Well, I'd love to stay, but I got to work in the morning. It's been a really lot of fun. Thanks for stopping in.
Yeah, I gotta go too. I mean, I really can't make this too long. But yeah, it's good seeing you, and yeah, it's good.